Hi, good afternoon. Can we have a huge round of applause for both the ladies here? I think that's what we keep forgetting. You're calling it Sri Shakti, but we forget to even clap or applaud all the achievers who are on the dais. And that's just a bit of injustice, I think, to them. So congratulations for everything that you've achieved so far, and more power to both of you. As we welcome both of you. I was just outside on the coffee table and I just saw her and I'm like, I didn't recognize who she is, though, I'd Googled her and read about her. But I think that's the power of an ordinary citizen. I will not even say just women achievers. These are achievers in their own right. And unfair to, I think, bracket all of you as women or men, because at the end of the day, I mean, just because you're a woman, we don't get any special advantages. I think the struggle is even more. But because I want both of you to talk, and Sakshi, if I can ask you first, there are a lot of questions that have been asked of you. A lot of them are cliched. Where did you begin? How was your journey? How do you feel? What do you want to do? Before I ask those cliche questions, what is that one question that no one who's interviewed you has asked, but you want to tell everyone about it? What is that one thing?
Thank you so much, and so honored to be in the company of ma'am who's right here, and I think we're a tough act to follow from what we've just heard, so thank you so much. I think the moment I think about my journey as an entrepreneur, everyone is usually talking about ideas of, behind every woman there is a supportive man, behind every behind every successful woman there are circumstances that led her to do whatever she did, and these are, I kind of call them cliched because I think opportunity is something that an individual decides and picks up on based on their upbringing, and that's something that one should always sort of keep in mind. Whatever you've learned over your time, you choose your opportunities because of that upbringing. And I think that's something that we touch upon a lot lesser now. We talk about a lot of shortcomings that came our way, the things that were not right, but there was a lot that was right. And I think that's something that we need to discuss a lot more as we look at a stage where inclusivity is becoming more and more important. And so yeah.
That's a short and sweet answer. Does this mean you don't believe in talking too much? Working too much is the key to success?
Work is always something that should talk more than what you say.
Anyone who talks a lot is not bound to be successful.
No, not at all. I think anyone who talks a lot has a flair.
That's the only thing that we guys do. We keep talking a lot in the day, and that's why I think it's important to hear from all of you. Yeah. What about you? What's that one thing you've never been asked about, but you definitely want all of us to know about you, your journey, and about who you are?
Thank you. I think that's a brilliant question to begin with. And what Sakshi said, I want to second and build up on that. Also add a few of my thoughts. What we have been asked a lot and focused on are already out there in the media. But what we have not been asked are very specific nuance frameworks, what really worked for us. Let's say, how in this world, I was just reading an article in the morning, how much Indian and global women entrepreneurs have contributed as opposed to investments that has been made in the market. And what we have been struggling with is getting investments because there are some nuances in the industry where people still question a little bit of pure women leadership boards. How can that become better? We have very good case studies on that. So for example, I was reading this by Boston Consulting Group that in US, in 2020, for every $1 that was invested, 78 cents were made by women entrepreneur startups as opposed to 31 cents by male entrepreneur startups. So, and there were only 92 startups by women as opposed to 238 by men. So what really worked for those women entrepreneurs? if we can bring out those case studies and pass it on to the leadership board so that it can train them better, is something I think should be asked more.
I think it's an interesting start, and just looking at the response of the audience, that is, I mean, lackluster to call the least, considering that you have people who've achieved so much sitting here. But Sakshi, does this mean that when women sit and talk, there aren't too many people who are wanting to even listen or accept what they've done? You know, even if, you know, it's a woman who has achieved what you have achieved, Sakshi, with the kind of journey, with the kind of your struggles, where you are women achievers underrated? I mean, are we as a society ready to accept that women achievers are equally powerful, they are equally capable, and you must listen to them because their stories can also inspire you?
I think let me begin by saying we don't have an option. We have to accept.
There's always an option in life, no? Do you agree?
I'm saying there is no option but to accept women leaders to be taken seriously. I think women leaders need to be taken seriously. I think we are now, and you know, as per statistics that you just shared, and also if you just look at the quantum of women that exist in today's workforce, or the ones who are wanting to come back to the workforce, or the kind of opportunities that women are creating for themselves, I think the enthusiasm itself and the drive should make everyone take notice. There was a time, and you know, I was just sharing with you, there was a time when I just started working, and even something as simple as having a female only, you know, like a washroom for females in one of the offices that I went to did not exist. And this was about 17 years ago. And the times are obviously very, very different right now. I was in an industry that was primarily dominated by men, because mobility, automotive as a space was something that sort of had, you know, a huge amount of men working in there. Females, you know, there were no females in factories, there were no females, even female drivers was a very alien concept at one point in time. Now you see them, you know, joining the workforce even as, you know, cab drivers, etc. So times are definitely changing. I think we're taking, we have the advantage of bringing in a shock value. When you see, so I still remember the first time I sat in a cab in which the driver was a female. I was just so happy. And I took note, and I took a picture with her, and I tweeted about it, and I was like, this needs to go out. There have to be more females doing it. Why not? And then I went back to the journey of figuring out why it was so difficult for females to become commercial cab drivers. And the journey was that the entire, and similar to how independent directors were all males, and you know, you just mentioned about it, how the whole concept is written for males, the entire journey for women to get a commercial cab driver license in India was something that was essentially all, you know, focused. I mean, it was extremely difficult. For a new gender to come into the workforce, they needed to first show 10 years of work experience, which did not exist. So if somebody had to just get into a workforce, the policy was written in a manner in which it didn't exist. But that's changed. I think there have been women and men in various spheres, in various industries, who have come up and helped that change come into being. The ground level is always, you know, where it starts, and which is why we've seen some changes. Now we are seeing, you know, women coming in leadership roles a lot more. So I think things are changing. I think there's a lot of change that that we are sort of seeing in this in an overall workforce space.
Before I come to you, Priyanjali, with your permission, I quickly want to take one little follow-up question to that. And because you spoke about female drivers, you know, the mentality of men, I think even now if you have a women driver on the road, I mean, they just want to ensure that somehow they register their point. Oh, ye to ladki chala rahi hai. Tabhi ye aise chal rahi hogi gaadi. I mean, beat it. That is the truth. That is the reality of today's time. And in that world where there aren't obviously too many women, I want you now, at this point, Sakshi, to tell our viewers what you actually do, how did you start this, and where you are today.
So you're very right. When I started working, and I started my career as a marketing person in Cars on Rent, my responsibility was to develop strategy to build new businesses. We were a private equity invested company. With the likes of Sequoia and Westbridge, etc., who had invested in the entity. We had some government, investment funds who'd also invested in the organization. One of the first entities that had actually raised money in the, in the mobility space in India. It was unheard of. And at that point of time, and this was back in 2006-07, where we said that, okay, we need to organize an industry which was otherwise very scattered. So the age-old question of taxi kahan se aati hai? Mere roadside pe ek uncle ji hain, unke paas, he has a car. Whenever I ask him, he picks me up, or, takes me wherever. Or most people used to have either, there was some form of public transport, which was also still developing. But we recognized that in India as a market, there was a lack of a well-organized, good quality, cab rental service. And that's where Cars on Rent was born. That's where we also launched one of the first radio cab brands in the country, which was, again, there was a lot of policy making that we did with the government at that point of time, because radio taxi had to be a regulated product. It was something that, the various state governments sort of developed over time. Post that, I think the interest then was, how do you make mobility far more accessible? And that's what I have been, passionate about for the longest time. And that's when I started working on car sharing, which was an idea then how do you make a vehicle available to anybody and everybody? Why do I have to spend lakhs and lakhs of rupees or take loans for purchasing a vehicle, which gives me a certain amount of convenience, but also makes me a lot more mobile. And that's how car sharing and car subscription was launched with my current brand called Miles. The idea behind that was, how for the longest time, the head of the family used to decide kaun si gaadi leni hai. And this was because it was a very expensive purchase. You were typically spending about 6 to 7 lakhs, or at least taking a loan of that amount to be able to get a car. And we said that's not required. How do you make sure, through intelligent technology and through an asset-light model, how do I make sure that you can have access to a car whenever you want and only pay for that period of time? And drive it around and then give it back and then take a different car. Why not bring concepts that make mobility easier to any decision maker in the family? So why can't the women, for example, just go ahead and decide? Why we today have homemakers who are just saying, well, that much I can make. I want to run a small business. I need a car of my own. Why can't I just take a car which costs me, say, 10,000 rupees a month? Or why can't I take a vehicle for my daughter who goes to college every day? I remember we'd done some, we'd introduced nanos when they were launched, the Tata nanos when they were launched in India. And we saw so many fathers coming in and saying, you know what, I want to give this car to my kid because it's affordable and I will feel safe, when my kid goes to their college and just travel around. So I think that's really been my journey. We today work with over 10 million customers who are using our platform for with chauffeur and without chauffeur vehicles. We work with corporates across the country, and we also work with automotive companies to help them sell cars in a more accessible manner through subscription. So that's really what I do.
You think this is worth clapping on? I mean, this is a fantastic concept that she's leading the industry with. Priyanjali's journey is not very different. It's full of a lot of struggle. And I think moments of personal suffering that really tell you something needs to be done. I mean, you cannot depend on someone else to come and make that change for yourself. But you tell yourself, hey, listen, I need to do something if I need to change this and ensure that this does not happen. Now, this is barring the fact if you're a man or a woman, barring gender. How did your journey begin and what is it that has motivated you so far, Priyanjali?
Thanks, Deepti. So I think I will divide my answer into two parts where I will talk about where I come from and why am I doing whatever I have been doing and what I have been doing. I come from Meghalaya, which is a matrilineal society in the northeastern part of India. I have seen my mom, my sister, my family, my dad see a very different construct of society of how women are treated. It is driven by women with very, very supportive, gender-agnostic family, which does not think about gender. It is run in a very sustainable ecosystem where women entrepreneurship is not even a word. It is entrepreneurship. When I want to address myself or any other new person who wants to pursue entrepreneurship or is an achiever already, I would call them an entrepreneur and not a woman entrepreneur. That's where I come from. My journey began when I moved to Delhi for my higher education, went to my med school, and in an incident, my mom struck with a difficult health condition, which in the whole world did not have enough research to give her the right care treatment. And she's right here today. Even today in the world,
I think let's extend a great hand for her because I read about her. She says her parents are the biggest support system. And I think it's not without parents like you, ma'am. If I could request you to please come up here. I wish you would have told us
they both
that
are
your mother's
definitely
here.
what has made me come wherever I am. So.
And I've read most of your interviews where you say that all the influence in your life and all the courage that you get is through your parents.
Yes.
Ma'am,
That's true.
बैठिए, please. आइए तो बैठिए.
Deepti, please.
Please continue to sit, please.
Thank you.
We'll hear about you, then we'll hear from ma'am, please.
Sure.
Go on.
So my mom is a music teacher. We come from a Bengali family in Meghalaya. And we saw her going through a very difficult disease. And that was when I was in college. I did not get enough medicine that could cure her. And today that fact stands the same. And that's why after a lot of research, I decided I don't want to pursue clinical practice anymore. I would like to go and look for a solution which will give millions and millions of people in the world the opportunity to live their life with good technology. That's where my journey began. And I started working very hard and learned a lot about AI. AI has a lot of notion in the world right now, but I started my journey with AI 8 years ago and started building an intelligent engine which would augment the expertise of best of doctors in the world. And hence, we could diagnose cancer and other diseases in 2 lakh women in 4 countries without the physical presence of a doctor. That helped them to save crores and crores of money and their lives. So this is a small thing that I could do for my mom and my dad and my sister and for everybody that I want to work for. And I saw that after that I moved on to work in mental health and creator economy because I believe that with the onset of generative AI, where a lot of ethical issues are being questioned about how human will sustain against this intelligence, I think our product that I've been working on, which uses generative AI to augment the skills of best therapists, best life coaches, best professionals like her, you, ma'am, and everybody in the audience, so that your expertise can be scaled and can reach billions of people who can't learn or meet from you otherwise. Creator economy, peer-to-peer learning, expertise, content, everything can be augmented and scaled with AI infinitely. I faced a lot of age issues because I was considered quite young when I was going out to ask for investments. But I could manage with the best of men who supported me and women to raise around $2 million for my first company. And men who have actually supported me are role models for me, just like women in my life, who come from very good backgrounds, who have done their IPOs and agreed to become my co-founder, who is apparently a young professional today. So I'm very grateful about that. And not only in India, but also in US, I think age agnostic, gender agnostic opportunities is what I would want to expand to everybody I meet and build good technology in every field that I can go, be it media and entertainment, be it fashion, be it health, be it wellness, so that when the time comes, my aim is to build a canvas for my life that I've done something for at least a couple of 100 millions of people in the world. That's
fantastic.
my journey.
And you know, Priyanjali is very humble, but in a gist, I'll tell you in 20 seconds what this young lady has achieved. She comes from Meghalaya, like she told you all. Her mother was having a serious health condition, and this is where she realized that she needs to do something. So she creates an app. The app is Arogya. It's called Arogya. She's just told you more about it. It's going from village to village, scanning women for serious health condition, including cancer. Think of it, you know, in situations, in villages in Haryana, in otherwise, in remote parts of the country, where women don't have a voice. I think उनसे इतना पूछ लो कि आपके पेट में दर्द है, आँख में दर्द है, यहाँ तक तो ठीक है. उसके beyond आप जैसे ही जाते हैं, I've read these things about you, that you've put this first person account, कि how difficult this is. And in an area like this, to have achieved what you have done, Priyanjali, and fantastic. I mean, we keep thinking about this, कि यार change कैसे लाएंगे, what can we do? And here she is taking charge of the situation herself and going ahead with it. And fantastic. Let's have a huge round of applause for her, please. And ma'am, Priyanjali is an achiever, but आप तो उससे भी बड़े achiever हैं, because माता पिता के support के बिना कुछ नहीं होता. मतलब no matter what, I think पेरेंट्स का जब तक सपोर्ट नहीं होता है, तो जब प्रियांजलि ने आपको समझाया या आपको जब पता चला कि प्रियांजलि क्या कर रही है और आज क्या करती है, तो आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे? ऑडियंस सुनना चाहेंगी कि एक माँ का नजरिया कैसा है?
मैं सबको नमस्कार जनाती हूँ, आप लोग सब लोगों को. एक्चुअली मैं बंगाली हूँ, मुझे इतना अच्छा हिंदी भी नहीं आती है, तो मैं ओके मैम, थैंक यू सो मच मैम. एक्चुअली मेरी बेटी जब क्लास 10 पास हुई तो उसने उसके पापा को बोले हैं, पापा मैं दिल्ली में मतलब पढ़ना चाहती हूँ. तो उसके पापा कह रहे, बेटा तुम इतनी छोटी उम्र में कैसे तुम अकेली रह जाओगी? बोले पापा मैं सकूँगी, तुम बिल्कुल, मैं हिम्मत रखती हूँ, तुम मुझे थोड़ा सा इनकरेज करो. तो एक्चुअली मैं थोड़ा सा टेंशन में थी, क्योंकि आप लोग को तो पता है क्लास 10 के बाद उम्र कितनी होती है. वो भी हम लोग मेघालय इंटीरियर में, उसके पापा एग्रीकल्चर में जॉब करते थे. तो मैंने सोचा ठीक है बेटा, अगर पापा का एग्री होती है तो तुम चलो. तो उसके पापा लेके आए क्लास 10 के पास दिल्ली में. तो आके उसने मेडिकल की पढ़ाई शुरू की है. तो उसके बाद जब उसने कंप्लीट करते करते तो आरोग्य को लेके जब उसने मतलब बात शुरू की है, तो मैंने बोला पापा का तो थोड़ा कुछ अलग ही था बेटा, तुमको दूसरा बिल्कुल कंप्लीट करके. बोले नहीं माँ, मैं तो सबकी सेवा करना चाहती हूँ जितनी मतलब मेरी मन है. तो उसी टाइम से वो आरोग्य के लिए बहुत मैं आप लोग को क्या बताऊँगी, बिल्कुल उसका खाना भी हम टेबल में रखते थे, वो खाना भी वो छोड़ के वहीं सो जाती थी. बिल्कुल मेहनत, बहुत फुलफिल मेहनत के साथ उसने आगे बढ़ी है. तो मैं डर गई थी फर्स्ट टाइम, पता नहीं मेरी बेटी सक्सेस हो पाएगी कि नहीं. तो जब वो फर्स्ट टाइम शुरू किया यूपी से, मेरठ एक बहुत ही इंटीरियर प्लेस था, उसके पास सारे वीडियो है वो सब। तो जब उसने दिखाया था मम्मी ऐसी है, वहाँ पे ऐसी है, तो पीने का भी पानी नहीं था उस गांव में। तो उसी टाइम उसने बहुत अच्छा से वहाँ का जो जो विलेज के जो बहुत अच्छा से अरेंज किया था। तो वही फर्स्ट टाइम जर्नी उस यूपी से ही शुरू किए हैं। तो आप लोग के आशीर्वाद से अभी वो ठीक ठाक सब कुछ कर पा रही है। बस आप लोग आशीर्वाद कीजिए और वो आगे बढ़े। बहुत ही मेहनती वाली है मेरी बेटी। और हम लोग को, मेरी छोटी बेटी भी डिसेबिलिटी है, उसकी बैठी है मेरी छोटी बेटी। प्लीज स्टैंड अप श्रियांजलि, स्टैंड अप बेटा। मेरी छोटी बेटी है, हाँ, अभी गार्गी कॉलेज से पास आउट हुई है। उसका भी अभी 3 इयर्स उसका पैर में 12 रॉड्स लगी हुई थी, ऑपरेशन, पार्ट्स ऑफ 3 ऑपरेशन। हाँ, तो मेरी छोटी बेटी भी बहुत मेहनत वाली है। मेरी 2 बेटी, वो लोग बहुत समाज के लिए बहुत सोचते हैं। यही मुझे सबसे अच्छी लगती है, जे सबके लिए सोचो, खाली अपने लिए ना सोचो। बस मुझे यही कहना है। आप लोग सब अच्छा से रहिए, यही मेरी आशीर्वाद है। नमस्कार। थैंक यू मैम।
थैंक यू। एक छोटा और सवाल, प्रियांजलि ऐसे बहुत सारे सीक्रेट्स हमें नहीं बताएगी, लेकिन बताइए कि ऐसे सुपर सक्सेसफुल होने के लिए, ऐसा आइडिया आने के लिए और उसके ऊपर इतनी मेहनत करने के लिए, आपने बताया कि कैसे कैसे आप खाना रख देते थे, वो खाती नहीं थी, काम में लगी रहती थी, तो क्या वो सक्सेस का फॉर्मूला है? लोगों को बताइए। और लोग सेलिब्रेट करते हैं वुमेन्स डे, वुमेन अचीवर्स, और मुझे लगता है कि हर महिला मैम अपने आप में एक अचीवर है, बिकॉज बहुत सिचुएशंस, चाहे आप शहर में हो, चाहे आप गांव में हो, कहीं भी हो, आपको एक मेंटालिटी को फाइट करना होता है डे इन एंड डे आउट। लेकिन वो इंस्पिरेशन क्या था प्रियांजलि में? और मतलब आपने जब उसको देखा और देखा कि वो कितना बड़ा नाम है, she's a doctor, she could have a fantastic career otherwise, but she decided to go into the villages and she's done what like not many people might have wanted to do. एक अच्छा करियर था इनके सामने, डॉक्टर बन गई थी। डॉक्टर्स अच्छी पढ़ाई करके, अच्छी मेहनत करके अच्छे हॉस्पिटल में होते हैं, बट टुडे शी इज मूविंग फ्रॉम वन विलेज टू द अदर, शी इज बीन आउटसाइड, कितना नाम कमाया। तो इसके पीछे सक्सेस का फॉर्मूला क्या है?
सक्सेस का फॉर्मूला मैं क्या बताऊं? सच जो तुमने जो बताया, सब पेरेंट्स चाहते हैं वो जब डॉक्टर हुए हैं, तो मुझे भी आशा था जब अच्छे हॉस्पिटल में जाएंगे, बैठेंगे, मेरी बेटी उस हॉस्पिटल में डॉक्टर है, मैं सबको बता पाऊंगी। ऐसे तो थोड़ा सा डिप्रेस तो हम लोग थे, हम मेरे हस्बैंड दोनों ही। तो फिर मन ही मन तो बहुत दुखी होती थी, बट बेटी का जो मन है उसके साथ ही मेरा चलना है। हम जबरदस्त तो नहीं कर सकते बच्चे को, नहीं बेटा तुम मेरी जितनी इच्छा है तुम पूर्ण करो। उड़ा उसकी जो मन है वही, जैसे मैम ने बताया, वो जो अब यूएस गए थे फर्स्ट टाइम, तो वो भी मैं डर गई, अकेले मेरे बच्चे कैसे यूएस जाएंगे। यूएस गई, अकेली गई, वहाँ पे जाके सक्सेसफुल हुई है। फिर स्विट्जरलैंड गए, वहाँ पे उसके अवार्ड भी मिला था, टॉप 50 ऑल ओवर इंडिया में टॉप 50 में उसका अवार्ड मिला था। फिर यहाँ पे भी हम नहीं थे, हम मेघालय में थे, तो मैम भी यहाँ रिप्रेजेंट ही है, श्रुति ईरानी, वो सब लोग भी उन लोग को मतलब मेडल दे चुके हैं। तो मैं तो मम्मी होके इतना तारीफ नहीं कर सकती मेरी बेटी को लेकिन आप लोग की आशीर्वाद से जितनी भी आगे बढ़ चुकी है, बहुत ही सक्सेसफुल हुई है। मैं आशीर्वाद करती हूँ मेरी तरफ से मेरी बेटी और भी आगे जाए और सबकी अच्छा से सेवा कर पाए, इतनी मेरी कामना है आप लोगों से। थैंक यू सो मच मैम।
थैंक यू, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। साक्षी, ऑन दैट सेम नोट, आप बैठे रहिए, आप चाहते हैं तो बैठे रहिए, इट्स ओके। On that same note, see, parents, you also started with your dad. Your journey has been different. You know, many would say when you have parents who are equally supportive, like a lot of you are very lucky, touch wood, that you have parents who support you in your journey, in your fight. But a lot of people fight this day in and day out, you know, unless you get that parental support. How important was that when you told your dad or what you want to do, how you want to go about it? What was his very first response? What did you hear from your folks, from friends? I mean, did they all support you in what you're doing?
So you're right. I think there is a lot of, we're extremely fortunate, and I would go to the extent of saying we're extremely privileged to have grown up in households where being a daughter or a son was not considered different. My mother is an educationist. She was a teacher for the longest time. My father's father was an educationist. So I come from a family where education was sort of the most important thing. And there was a lot of stress on how do you continue to educate yourself. And that is what will lead to the opportunities that arise in your world. Having said that, I am fully aware of the fact that there are a lot of people who don't have those opportunities. There are a lot of people who are not able to educate themselves as much as they want to. And that is something that I hold very dear to myself. I continue to, from time to time, gain insights into areas that interest me. Right from understanding about mobility as a space to understanding various management styles to, now I'm actually very curious to understand from you because I'm very interested in what's happening in the generative AI space. As the world progresses, it was really important for me to keep on educating myself and therefore be aware of what's going on and prepare myself for the world that is coming. And I think that's what I've continued to do. And for that, I've received a lot of support. Some of the questions that were perhaps asked of me when I started off was, do you really want to do this? Is this really you? Is this a space you want to be in? And to be honest, I think I asked myself that question as well. Do I want to be in mobility all my life? Is that my calling? Because I think when I started working, nobody was talking about mobility as a sector also. There were no cab aggregators. There was no, immense amount of funds going into, companies everywhere. It was a bet that I was willing to take. I was fortunate to have the opportunity to take that bet. Over the course of time, I realized that I have literally hit the jackpot by being in an industry that changes every month. There is a new, innovation that comes in this industry. There are tremendous amount of founders that have come in. The opportunities that exist, I continue to believe that I think as far as mobility and automotive as a sector is concerned, we're really scratching the surface right now. And I think in doing so, whatever questions that came my way, they were sort of answered by what was happening in the industry itself. So I was very lucky to be in this space. And as I continue to do it, I remember there was a time when, when I had just started working, all my friends used to just keep asking me, Goa mein gaadi milegi kya? Tumhari gaadi Goa mein milti hai kya? Because everyone knew how to hire or rent a car in Goa. And I always used to say, listen, I think we need to get out of Goa. I think cars need to be an easier thing to have. Why are we so, stuck on individual personal mobility as a space? India is a country where public transport has also come in much later. And it's now developing in a great way. But, there's a lot more that needed to be done. And which is where I, really started working on car sharing as a concept. Really, being able to have anybody to drive around and have the safety of being able to drive in your own vehicle is what I wanted to create. And I was fortunate to have that opportunity. And it's so wonderful to hear your mother speak about you. Truly from the heart, I think. So it's very good to see.
And you're making it sound so simple that all this is so easy, just think about an idea, get down to it, and everything is easy. But, this conversation is going to be incomplete, though we are towards the fag end, Priyanjali, but the struggles. Because struggles tell us where we lack, what we need to do, and how can we make things better. So when you're talking of struggles, what is it that you believe perhaps has laid the roadmap to where you are? And what is the message that you want to give out to our audience also, an audience that loves to celebrate a Women's Day and an International Women's Day and a lot of other things, and then they believe, okay, uske baad sab chalta hai. Then you need to keep telling them that every day is Women's Day, and you see this all banter happening otherwise. But we as a society, do you believe we are really very welcoming, forthcoming towards women, their ideas? Do we treat them as equals at all, Priyanjali?
So I will share the frameworks that has helped me and some learnings. First, talking about struggles, I think as a technology entrepreneur, especially in the field of AI, there's a lot of male dominance by nature because of the industry. And hence, a lot of education in terms of lifespan of, the last few centuries. Also, a lot of dominance in the field exists for its reasons because male has been doing more work in that industry than females. So by lifespan, of course, the higher amount of skill lies quantitatively with men. However, with perseverance, initially it's very hard to break walls. What I every day in the morning imagine is, it's okay, Priyanjali, it's about taking the hammer and breaking walls. One more wall, second wall.
Do it every day. Every day, let's break a new wall.
Let's break a new wall. There's always a way to break through, is what I have really believed in. Intellectual honesty is important. Am I capable? Irrespective of age, gender, race. Am I putting in the right skills and effort? The moment, yes, the initial friction of a women representation in the VC space where venture capital funding, even today, goes more to the male ecosystem, that's not because of choice of VCs, that's because more male startups exist. And also in the space of technology, when we are going out to do bigger things, girls need to understand one thing, that intellectual honesty is very important. Am I building myself the right way? एक दिन लोग भगा देंगे, दूसरे दिन भगा देंगे, उसके बाद नहीं भगाएंगे when you're actually delivering value. And they see that you are producing value, you're irreplaceable. Second, judgment over luck. Many times, we can feel our failure is because of our luck. Most of the times that happen. In cricket, jab toss karte hain, that's kind of luck. But the judgment the captain takes ki main bowling karunga ya batting karunga is out of calculative decision. We do a lot of calculation to take a risk and a call. So judgment over luck. Third thing that I want to share is emotional intelligence. Putting yourself in the shoe of 10 different people. When we talk to somebody between two human beings, especially in the era of technology where I know how psychology of human is used, to make these social media apps, हर microsecond में dopamine निकलता है and we go back to scrolling. Emotional intelligence is important because when two people are talking in this age, there are 10 personalities talking. Who I think I am, who the other person thinks I am, who I am really representing as, and so on. So there are many conflicts out there. Hence, be very aware, abstract yourself, zoom out and see, are you being the best version of yourself, or do you need to work on yourself more before making a luck call or a judgment call? So all these frameworks have helped me a lot. In the world where entrepreneurship for women is difficult today, I agree. I will not deny that fact. A lot of people have helped me, and that's what is the mantra.
Nice. I think those are good tips. Good tips that always work in life. I'll give the final word to you, Sakshi. Picking out from what she said, it said that women are more emotional. They think from their heart. They end up making wrong decisions. Do you agree with that? I mean, do you believe that really works? And the other thing is, that same quote that we began this conversation with, that behind every successful man, there is a woman. But I've read about your husband. I don't know whether he's here in the audience or not. You're not married? Sorry.
You got the wrong person.
Oh, I'm so sorry. But who's that successful man in your life? Is it your dad? Is it your friends? Is it important to have someone backing you only? Then can you be successful?
I think having a good support system is exceedingly important. It helps in ways that you can't even imagine. Being a lone runner in a race, especially of up the ladder, it is something that the more people that you have, the more people you carry with you, the better it is for you. And I'd want to actually connect that to the idea of emotional intelligence and being, emotional. I would actually call it being emotionally intelligent, because I feel like that's what women are, and that's what businesses need today. We need to be more emotionally intelligent. Skills can be acquired from anywhere, and there are enough people who've educated themselves and acquired skills and also had tremendous amount of experience of utilizing those skills. Emotional intelligence adds depth to any decision that you take in the workplace. The fact that there are enough there is enough data available which says that the more inclusive of a workplace, the better the ideas, the larger the market you're reaching out to. That's not because everyone's coming with the same skills. There are 10 AI engineers sitting in the same room, but if it's a diverse group, they're all thinking from their stories. Their storylines is what is developing the business, and their storyline is what is, bringing together that business further. And I think that's the advantage, that's the benefit that we should seek from any group that brings in inclusivity. And yes, gender inclusivity is extremely important. And the more women that are there, I feel more emotional, the better, because I think they just bring in a perspective that an all-male room may not even be thinking about. So I think those are critical. I have had the support of my parents. Yes, my father started working in this industry and then built a company which helped me get into this sector and then discover what it had in store. But at the same time, I think my mother was one of those who sort of put this thought in my mind that, listen, very early in life, in spite of all the facilities that I had growing up, I was very sure that work was more important than any support with respect to having, getting married or whatever else, etc. I was just told, listen, the first thing that's important is you need to be self-sufficient. And that self-sufficiency is what has helped me grow further in whatever decisions I've taken in my career.
And, pardon me for having asked you that question, because I think I have just mixed up with you and my next guest who's waiting here in the audience, because I was just driving from Chandigarh to Delhi this morning. But, because I've asked you that question, is that a standard question that most women have to be asked? Because had this been a conversation with men, perhaps no one cares, that who's your wife, are you married or not? But why is it that in spite of everything that you do, everything that you achieve, all the good talk that we do and we have, is that one question that you will be asked? You're always prepared to answer that question. Are you married and then you have kids? They forget everything else that you might have achieved in life.
I would agree. It's not the first time that everyone has mistaken the fact that I probably have a husband somewhere who's supporting me. But that's not there.
And I'm glad you don't have that.
And I mean, not having anything against having a partner, and kudos to everyone who works and has supportive partners, and I'd love to have one at some point in time as well. But I think what's important is, are we seen for who we are? And you're right. I think a lot of times we are asked questions related to who's that person sitting behind, because there was that age-old thing behind every successful man, there's a woman. And then we were forced to say, what is it behind every successful woman? Let's find out. Is this a man?
Find a man
is it somebody else? What's happening? But I think over time, things will change. I'm positive.
When will that time come? We don't know, but we hope that time arrives soon. And women are individuals in their own right. I'm not sure if the audience agrees. Do you agree with that? Things will change, Deepa ma'am?
Talking about husbands, I just want to add that I became financially independent from 2003 onwards. I have not taken a penny, and I can say anybody can introduce RTIs on my accounts and see that a woman in disability has not taken a penny and has raised her own funds, whether by driving in rallies, participating in events, becoming a motivational speaker, fighting for policies. However, whenever I win something or whenever I'm in a social gathering, the first line I hear, oh, she's so lucky to have a good partner. And trust you me, in 2010 I left home and we are all right with this. And it's not that, but you're right. The first foremost thing is saying, oh my God, the husband must have gone through a lot. And my husband today is a happily retired person. I'm the breadwinner. And so, yes, you are right. I don't know why, but the issue is that these questions are asked by women. A man would never ask me, is your husband paying for you? It's like woman, husband allows you to do it. You know, when you picked up your car and you left Ahmednagar to come to Delhi, did he allow you? And I was like, when did I take the permission? I just left. So I think women need to change their questions. Women need to change their thought process also. Just believe that a woman can do it all by herself as well.
Oh, yes. So stop giving so much importance to men, I think.
No, I think,
let's think about yourselves also. Why not?
No,
For a change, think about yourself.
I would definitely say that I'm really have a lot of respect for men who believe and have faith in women capabilities, and it takes a very empowered and a very confident man to believe. And if you're talking about a man being a man, I think kudos. Today, if I talk, just until a couple of months back before Radhika ma'am retired, you see the sports setup. The Secretary Sports is a woman. The DG NADA, that is National Anti-Doping Agency, Director General is a woman. The President of Indian Olympic Association is a woman. The President of a Paralympic Association is a woman. And the Executive Director of Team Sports was a woman. She just retired. So having 5 women in leadership roles and then winning 7 Olympic medals and 19 Paralympic medals, which has never happened in the history before. So kudos to men who believe that women can do it and encouraged into leadership roles.
Yes, absolutely. And in spite of everything that she said, as we need to wrap, still, because I love politics and I can't do away with politics, still we had women wrestlers at Jantar Mantar still fighting for justice. That's the story. Ladies and gentlemen, that's about it. It's been a fantastic conversation with both of you. Thank you so much, ma'am. And more power to both of them for creating more stories, more legacies. Thank you so much.